Oh, Peggy Garden, you are my darling. Oh, yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. This is Sparky here from the Fresh Batch. You up the flats.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?
Shut the fuck up!
How are you, Sparky?
What's the crack, Dino?
All right, bro.
Are you well?
Yep.
How's the head?
The head, the emotions. Ooh. So I just want to say to you, thank you very much for listening to me.
Right.
I woke up this morning and I had anxiety. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I've never really woke up with anxiety, and it's been happening to me for the last couple of weeks. And I'm starting to say it, when I talk about it, when I acknowledge it, when I mention it to you, or I mention it to my girlfriend, or I mention it to my brother, I can explore it a little bit easier and don't be so selfish with it and holding on to it and being quiet with it. So I mentioned it to you this morning. You gave me some really nice listening. And then you also handed me a little gift, because part of the anxiety is related to fear and procrastination. Procrastination first and then the fear of that.
The procrastination is just one of the symptoms, that's all, of the anxiety. The anxiety gives us a full stop and we stop. And then we're like, oh, what am I going to do? Anxiety is a child of fear, an offspring of fear. So fear is one of our very, very basic emotions. And I don't know whether anxiety is separate from fear. I think it's all related. I explain fear as false evidence appearing real. That's what I break it down as. So
false evidence
appearing real. So what happens to us is that we're in our heads, oh my God, I didn't pay the ESB, I'm going to get cut off. So that last bit isn't real because you don't know that. You know what I mean? Okay, if you don't pay your ESB for a long time, you probably will get cut off. But the bit where you go to, oh, I'm going to get cut off, and then you're in that moment, what am I going to do when I get cut off? And then you're thinking of ways of trying to survive in the gap with no electricity, even though your electric is still there.
And that thinking for me is causing more procrastination.
Okay.
And it creates like this loop, this feedback loop. I didn't understand it always, and it used to grow because I didn't understand it.
So it's like a washing machine spinning, and it gets faster and faster and faster and faster. What happens is our head has become so muddled. You know, even normal things that appear, you know, even things in front of you become confusing. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, somebody calls to the cafe and you're going, oh no, who's Mary calling to the house? And what am I going to say to her? All those things that you just do normally then become an issue. All the things like hoovering the stairs and all those kind of stuff.
I had one when I was depressed. And I don't think I'm depressed now, but if I'm not careful, I could go into depression.
Yeah.
But I had one in my job where I had to put in a light bulb in a toilet. And it fucking crippled me. The responsibility of putting a light bulb into a toilet.
So that's what I'm talking about is that the depression or the fear holds a space that's more important, right? You kind of give it more importance than it actually has, right? Or is worth. You know, you give it more worth than it really is. We all have to pay our bills. We all have to pay, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Some people miss a payment and they don't give a shit. They don't get anxious. Some of us, something happens and we get anxious because of whatever's going on for us, you know. What I was saying to you was, the one thing I learned about, I was telling you, I procrastinate all the time, you know, and I seen this Whopper app. So there was a free version of it and I got it for a week, and it was basically a list making app, right? So let's say, so the things that I would mess up on would be, say, reports or having stuff in on time and work and college, all that kind of stuff, right? What that would do is that the app would list them and then give them to you in order of importance. I was saying to you, you don't have to buy the app, you just have to make a list.
So I made a list.
You made a list, and how did that work?
It was deadly. It's so simple when you do it. And I would have said that to people loads of times. We do that bit all the time. Because we're not inside the shed, we're outside. It's easy to look at the person in the shed going, you know what you need to do? Just pick up that thing there and plug it in and do this and that. But when you're in there, in the mess, in the chaos, in the emotions, in the fear, in the sadness, it's hard to listen to your own advice. And you gave me one, make the list. And I made the list, and on the list was get the thing to fix the roof for the shed, pay the credit card bill, get your car cleaned, clean your room, those types of stuff. Interestingly, I just noticed there's a lot of stuff there about cleaning.
Yeah.
Because when I get sad or get depressed, you allow the dirt to build up.
I was told today, it's a good friend of mine, was looking in my car, and he was like, the car's not dirty, it's just untidy. And he was asking me how my head was, and I said muddled, and he goes, clean the car out. And he says, your head will become less muddled. And my sister gave me a brilliant hand yesterday to clean my kitchen. And she has this magic touch when she goes in, like after 2 or 3 minutes, you start to see the counter. You're like, how did she do this? It's just, I don't possess that skill. But I can do other things. I can do loads of other things. Those kind of finishing things. And it's not a man or a woman thing. You know what I mean? I know plenty of men who are whopper at cleaning. I know plenty of women who aren't. So we did a trade-off, I helped her get, the way everyone's collecting bottles now. She wanted the bottles dropped down. So I did that, and then we did a little bit of a swap. But when I came down this morning and walked into the kitchen, it was like, it was just deadly. And when I cleaned the car, it's deadly. And when I get the car cleaned, it's even deadlier. When you get somebody professional to clean your car. I think it's good that you spoke about it. That's the thing about anxiety is to talk about it. You hear this thing where people say, crippled by fear. That's the procrastination. That's the crippling aspect of it. We prioritize the anxiety, and we're like walking around kind of going, how am I going to cope with this?
I was in bed this morning, and I've been in bed for a number of mornings where I wake up with anxiety. And I've heard that from people before.
Yeah.
And I've heard people saying to me, you won't know it, you won't understand it until you feel it.
Yeah.
And I've been feeling it. And you're there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours in the bed with that chest fluttering kind of, it's really interesting. I understand I'm so privileged that I'm able to, at this early stage of it, speak about it, because I've learned that not speaking about it leaves me in a place where I don't do anything other than put the quilt over my head and just breathe in that murky space.
Yeah. Like, I can't stay in bed. I used to when I was a kid, like I would. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I had 12 blankets on the bed, right?
To weigh you down?
I don't know what it was. I had 12 blankets. Those times it was, the windows were bleeding, wooden windows, with the houses weren't as warm as they are now. So, but I remember staying in bed and wanting to stay in bed, not wanting to go to school or any of that kind of stuff, because it was a nice place to be. Like, now when I wake up, I'm up. I get up and I get out. And even if I'm feeling, like, I have woken up recently and felt, oh no, I'm awake. I'm at the sleeping 8 hours or whatever, and I'm still going, I wish I could sleep more. And it's not that I'm tired. It's that I don't want to face what's ahead of me for the day. For me, the way to do that is to get up and get going, to shave and to do all that stuff and shower and all that kind of stuff, get clothes ready and all that kind of stuff. That helps. Whereas if I stay in bed for half an hour extra, I'm not going to get those things done. Like, I have dogs at home, so I have a responsibility. I have to get up and have to feed them and have to make sure that they're sorted for the day. Like, that's a responsibility. And sometimes that can be effort. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I don't want to do this. But they're actually the things that gets me moving. And I've recently had an issue with my blood pressure. And I didn't know that I had this. I was in college last week and I felt unwell, and we went to the medical centre and they sent me to A&E, and my blood pressure was through the roof.
Did you collapse?
I didn't collapse. Thanks be to God, I didn't collapse. I've had to make loads of changes in my life, right? Now, some of them, people would just chuckle and go, so what? But I had to give up coffee, give up salt, the cans of Coke, all that kind of stuff, like all the brutal stuff that I throw into myself, like, and I've had to change and less beef in my diet and all that kind of stuff. I could easily go down a road where, oh, what's the point, like, Whereas what I'm saying to myself is, well, there's always new recipes, you know what I mean? Like, I cooked a big fish stew yesterday rather than a beef stew, and it was lovely. It was different. It was very, very different. Took a lot less time to cook, and the flavours and all are different. And I like difference. So I'm leaning into the difference of what the blood pressure is changing. You know, the high blood pressure. Now, my blood pressure's down. It's down with medication. But I have to try and also do exercise as well. So myself and my mate are going walking every night at 8 o'clock for an hour. The benefits of that, being out in nature, doing a bit of exercise, I'm noticing every day I'm less and less out of breath, and I want to kind of push it a bit.
Walking's an amazing exercise. Like, it's so underrated.
Yes.
The physical exercise of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Beyond the headspace or the being in nature or the chin wag, the chat that you're having with your mate, the physical benefits of walking are amazing. Especially, I listened to one about weight. If you want to lose weight, walking is one of the best fucking things to do.
Absolutely. When I was in Alice Springs, I cycled a lot. If I got a puncture, I'd have to walk. I'm not mad for taxis. Now, there was days when it was so hot that I would just get a taxi, you know. But I love walking. I loved walking there because it was so warm, and so the air is lovely there, you know. It's just lovely. And I definitely lost weight when I was there. But when I came home, I think I put it all back on because I went back to the car, back to not walking, back to not cycling.
You know what I've noticed, which is great, is you're able to talk about it easier. And like you said it to me and other people, oh, I had high blood pressure, I had to go get it checked out, rather than what I said I used to do with like sadness or depression, hold on to it and be quiet with it.
Well, it's funny you say that because I wanted to hold on to it initially. I didn't want to tell anybody that I was in A&E. And I was sent to Connolly, you know, I didn't know anybody there, you know, I didn't meet anybody that I knew there. I wasn't going to tell anybody.
I know that because I'm standing outside your shed and you're in it and I can see you in the shed, just like you can see me in mine.
When I spoke about it to, I get a bit of help in the recovery centre here, you know, once a week, and I spoke about it the next day. I was saying, I think it was a fear of being weak, and he said vulnerable. And I said, that's what it was. It's the fear of being seen as vulnerable, and, you know, as I said, as weak.
Seeing yourself as it or other people's perception?
That other people perceive you as weak. But the other thing is my fear of deteriorating, you know, my body's starting to deteriorate, and, you know, so I can go into that anxiety of deteriorating and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't. I just complied. I complied with the doctors. The doctor said, you need to do this, 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 and this, and they went sound. I didn't go, well, I'll do 3 of them, but I'll still drink the cans of Coke.
Because I think you've learned that when you retreat back into that place, it doesn't get better.
Oh, 100% no. And you see, I haven't had a doctor for years. My doctor retired, and I never got a doctor. So I'd never really had... During COVID, I was registered with a doctor in town. It was only for, well, you know, what I needed to do in COVID.
Sometimes it's better for the head when you don't have the doctor, because then you don't have to go and get the checkup and be told that you have the thing that you don't want to have.
Yeah. And funnily enough, my dad was telling me that one of his mates never went to a doctor. Something happened recently. He had to get a medical for insurance or something. I mean, he turned up, he had cancer. So he wouldn't have known if he hadn't went.
If I never went, I wouldn't have had the cancer.
Yeah, well, mate, I don't know. I mean, I think if I was told tomorrow that I had cancer, I think the anxiety would set it off. Like, you know what I mean? Now, I don't know whether that's how cancer works. I'm not a medical person, but I'd say stress doesn't help. Now, I don't think I'm a stressed person. I don't think that I get stressed. But it was funnily enough, you know, when I felt unwell, I was in college, and I'm thinking, am I under pressure with college? Because this is the last month of college, so we have to have a couple of things in. And then my tutor sent me an email saying, you have 5 pieces missing from this year, like, you know what I mean? Now, I even looking at them going, I put all them in. And then when I went back and looked, I hadn't put them all in. I probably had emailed them, or I had, you know, done something with them, but I hadn't actually put them in. So there was a bit of stress about that, you know, and I'm not saying that that's what brought it on, because I've been feeling off for a couple of weeks. But definitely, I need to look at stress and what stress is, and when I get stressed, to recognise it. Because as I said, I genuinely don't ever think I get stressed.
Me, you and Tony from the Tortoise Shack had lunch the other day, and the two of you said to me, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I was like in my head, am I giving off that I'm not okay? eyes, because you don't always know. Even though you think you know, we're 50-year-old men, we have experience behind us and we have a certain level of intelligence about our own health, emotions, feelings. You don't always know. What I'm learning is it's good to be honest with your stuff, with yourself and with other people, and use those other people as a sounding board for ideas, emotions, state of mind, state of heart, that type of stuff, because you can't always see your own stuff.
At the end of the conversation that me and you had today, we spoke about humility and ego. And I think that sometimes I will say things like, I know I'm not stressed. But other people are saying to me, but you're coming across as stressed. And I, in the past, would have shunned that. Now I'll kind of go, well, hold on a second. This is a person with a lot of experience, like, you know what I mean? I need to listen to what they're saying. I need to listen. And I need to take on. And then, you know, because we were talking about grief, and I was saying about the 5 stages of grief or the 6 stages of grief. You can deny, no, I'm not going through any of them. I'm just, whatever, like I'm just depressed or something like that. But sometimes you need to have the humility to go, hold on a second. Maybe I am angry. Maybe I am in denial. Maybe I am bargaining. To be open, and as I was saying to you, open the windows. Open the windows and let it in, because our ego will say, you are the soundest person that ever lived. You are sound. Nobody else knows as much as you do. To turn the ego off, or to even to lower it down, when you do it and humility comes in, it's a much, much safer place to be.
I've been hearing the word hubris. You know, when you hear a word and you're wondering, why am I hearing that word all the time? What's going on with that? I didn't understand what the word hubris meant. I had it conflated with a different word. I think I probably had it conflated with humility. And it's almost like the opposite. Hubris is, I am the greatest. And humility is, I'm just normal.
It's about lessening your self-importance.
But not that I'm less than.
No, you're not less than, but you're less important. If you're in a situation and you feel that you're better than somebody, right? Well, then you're in trouble, right? Because you're not better than, you know, we're just here, like, you know. If you go in, well, I'm less important here in this situation, I'm just contributing, or whatever it is, like, you'll be received better. I think, anyhow. I find if you go in going, here I am, people will be going, fuck off. But if you go in and say, do you need a hand? They go, yeah, come on.
And in that way, there's something beautiful, I think. There's a beautiful gift to be received from every person that you interact with. If you have that humility, if you turn down the hubris and you turn up the curiosity.
It's more about lowering down the ego, I think.
So yeah, so for me, the ego is the hubris. But for some reason, I was getting that word. It was coming.
Yeah, you were getting hit with it.
That word was coming up. I haven't had that word in my life, ever. You know, and now it's in. And now I get it.
You spelled hubris.
Hubris. So there's something for you from everybody.
Excessive pride or self-confidence. The hubris is about self-belief. It's about an excessive self-belief.
I think self-belief is all right, but it's the excessive part.
It's the excessive part. Well, excessive anything. So excessive
self-doubt.
You know, because sometimes it's all right to doubt something and go, hold on a second, because you're giving it a look over you and checking it out and thinking, is that right? And then you go, okay, well, I'm always right. You know?
Yeah, that's more self-righteous.
I know, but it's still hubris. You know what I mean? It's still, I'm always right. You know, I'm always that kind of extreme self-confidence, you know?
I was looking at something. This came up the other day and then I looked at it again today. There's a little image. And it's from that film Inside Out. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's an animation. And it's all about emotions. So there's all these characters and all the characters are different colours and they're all different emotions. So it's about emotional intelligence, the film is. So this is like a grid, you know, and on the top of the grid you have joy, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, all the ones we kind of know. So that's going across the top and it's going across the side. So where, for example, joy and anger intersect, you get something. So it's kind of like when you have different coloured glasses. You know, you have a red glass and a blue glass and you cross them over and you get a third colour.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what's
amber.
That? Yeah. It's kind of like what do you get when you cross over joy and anger? These are saying you get self-righteousness. or righteousness. I'm angry and I'm full of joy. I'm angry at the world, but I'm also full of joy, so I'm righteous. I was looking at what I have as a way of trying to understand the anxiety. So where sadness and fear meet, where they intersect, you get anxiety. I'm sad. I'm going through sadness.
Of course.
For the loss of me mate, like. But I also have fear. Just going back to that one, I don't know if the fear is causing the procrastination or the procrastination is causing the fear, but there's some kind of loop that's going around in that. And if I allow that loop to go around and around and around, I get severely sad. I get depressed then. So I'm kind of breaking, by talking about it, I'm breaking it down, but also breaking free of it.
The cycle.
Breaking free of its control over me and taking back some of the control. And I think that that's what I liked about what you done about your high blood pressure. You took back some of the control.
No, but the thing is, you spoke about being in a spin, and sometimes when you break the cycle in the spin, or even slow it down, you break out of it then. So like I woke up this morning and I was like, the best way to describe it was I was depressed, you know. I just woke up going, oh, fuck, here's this thing again, right? And then after 2 hours, I was free of it because I spoke to loads of people. I was talking about defects and shortcomings, my own defects and shortcomings, you know, and how they're there. There's times I snap at people and driving the car and like, fuck you. And, you know, people are driving slow in front of me and they keep hitting the brakes and I want to fucking smash their windows or something, you know. So that's not good. That's not good for me, you know. So they keep coming up and I'm looking at ways of trying to lower them down because they're not good for me. Every time I go into Lidl and I get in the queue, my queue is always slower than the next queue, you know. That's all crazy stuff.
So the one that's coming up for me, which I got the lesson during COVID in what you're describing, which sounds like it's a few elements of this, is patience, because I didn't have it before. I'm in a relationship and I'm asking the person I'm in a relationship with, do I have patience? And she say no. And I'm like, I do. And she go, no, you don't. And it's just something that I sat with and meditated with and looked at. When I was obviously not patient, I'd look at it. You're not always aware of the thing you're doing.
Absolutely, you're not always aware. Sometimes it's only when it reaches beeping the horn and then you go, right, I'm discontent, I'm agitated, there's something wrong here.
I've no patience.
So patience for me has a thread into me past. Adults around you will be going, give me patience. If you're, because if you're playing or something like, you're not coming in early or something like, give me patience. So there's a negative implication.
Yeah, it's kind of loaded in your head.
It's loaded to me. So I don't want to be patient, right? Because of that connection, like, you know. There's even like a godly thing or something connected with it. This time around, when I got sober this time around, I wanted to be more tolerant and compassionate. And somebody said to me, and patient. I was like, fuck you.
That irked you.
Yeah, because it was just, because I had that, it was only when I worked through it. It was only when I started to think about it, going, why do I not like the word patience? Or patient, or be patient, or...
Because you're kind of being told it.
And then you're thinking, a shop should be quick, like, you know what I mean? You should be able to get through a shop quickly.
That's that one, trying to bend the universe to the way your brain wants it to be.
But that's ego.
Yeah, rather than going, hold on, this is the way it is. It's the isness of the universe and your expectation of the universe banging off each other.
That happens to me. Like, when my self-will runs riot and I want people to do what I want them to do in the time that I want it done, that creates anxiety. That creates fear. That creates all that kind of stuff. So do you remember when I'd say listen and listen deeply? That's listening deeply. So if you're in a situation and you're saying to yourself, am I being patient here? And then you're saying, am I being judgmental here? Am I being compassionate here? Am I being tolerant here? Then you're slowing down. So your head's going to slow down, you know. So the more compassionate, tolerant, patient, all those things you are in the moment, your life's just going to be so much easier. And I remember meeting nuns years ago in Ballymun, and they always seemed to be so calm and all that kind of stuff. And some of them were off the blade and bracket, like, in a good way. I often wondered how they had it, like, you know. And I think some of it might be to do with prayer and listening and they seemed, you know, very compassionate people. So I'm just wondering, you know, that's the kind of thing that I want. I want peace of mind. I want to be compassionate. I want to be tolerant. I want to be patient. They're all the things that I want to be.
You're open to being those, and you're open to not being right, and you're open to learning. And listening is one of those things that allows us to learn. Because we've had that conversation about listening.
Yeah, so they say in the rooms, learn to listen and listen to learn. That used to confuse me, but now I get it. Yeah, so if I listen, truly listen, I will learn. But I have to learn to listen first. I have to, because sometimes when people are talking to me, I'm not listening. You know, I'm watching what's going on. The car's going up and down the road, or I'm waving at people and all that kind of stuff.
You do that bit where you go, I hear what you're saying, but
I want to say something, I have something to say. Whereas active listening, deep listening, all that kind of stuff, it takes time and it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to get it, you know. And then I think when you get it, like I remember recently getting it for about a day, like, you know, just this real listening and really listening. And then feedbacking to people, giving people feedback. And they were like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on, you know. I want to do more of that. I don't know whether you can go to school and study listening, but if there is a way of learning to listen, yeah.
Well, I think you're in the school of listening in this format, this podcast.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do the listening part?
Because it's only by listening that we hear. There you go. That's very deep. You know, when I looked at what happened to the Aboriginals in Australia, where they would say, this land is sacred. All our land here is sacred. And then somebody would come in and say, we're actually going to put a big lead mine over there. And they're saying, but that's our sacred ground. And they just go, yeah, see you after. They just wouldn't listen. There's times that we don't listen because our own mind is judging. You know, so somebody might say to you, I'm trans. And you might go, that's a lot of bollocks. No, I'm not saying that that's what you would say. I'm just saying as an example. If you listened, I think it would help the person a lot more. Rather than going, if you can turn that voice off in your head, you know, if somebody's coming and saying to you, I'm suffering with depression, you know. Now, you know, back in our day, nobody suffered with depression because nobody spoke about it. You know, they just bottled it all up. Whereas nowadays, people are more inclined to listen to you if you're saying I'm suffering with depression. But the only thing is in Ireland is everybody always has a solution. Doesn't matter what you have. You know, if you say, I have warts on my hands, oh, dandelions, rub dandelions on them. I have depression, oh, go out and jump in the sea. You know, so there's always people trying to fix it. Whereas I think there's a part where you listen. And sometimes when people are listened to, it helps. I think I would be more helpful to people in my role if I actually learn to listen and listen to learn.
What's your role? Because I think sometimes you limit yourself to, in your head, my role as a youth worker.
Yeah, so does your friend. Look, so my role as I'm a member of a family. I'm a member of, you know, of a friends group. So yeah, there's loads. Like sometimes what happens is that when we're youth workers or something like that, and we're listening, and you know, and then we step out of that place, and we want to box the head off people. You know what I mean?
I have an example of it. Fuck me. So I was in the Satanta in Ballymun.
Satanta is a GAA club.
It's like a hurling club, and there's a bar, and there was a fella there, and he was telling me that this fella's a giant of a fella, as in he's really tall, and you'd kind of look at him going, wow, he's really manly. But he was explaining to me that he had got Employee of the Month in the job.
Right.
And I kind of sniggered a little bit, and he scalded me with the eyes and started giving out to me, and he said, you're meant to be a youth worker, you shouldn't be slagging me. So part of me felt or heard what he was saying, and then another part of me went, I'm not a fucking
youth worker 24
whatever. I'm not a guard 24 hours a day. I'm not a teacher 24 hours a day. I'm a person who, you know, has a whole range of stuff going on, and I can play the role of the priest or the rocket scientist 24 hours a day, but that's not fucking good for me, and it's not really good for anybody else if I do it as well. So there's moments where I'm not any role. I'm not the brother, I'm not the boyfriend, I'm not the podcaster.
Okay, so I think what you were talking there about is values, right? So we all have our values. I mean, you know, if I was to ask you, what's your values, Dean? Give us 4 of your values. You know, you'll say equality, empathy, all those things, right? Okay, and then there's probably 100 values you have, right? But what happens to us is that we prioritize those values at any given time. So the people in Ukraine were probably dog lovers, you know? They all, you know, they have the dog and they feed the dog twice a day and they walk and all that kind of stuff. But when the bombs started hitting the flat complex and they were running out with the kids and the suitcase to head to Ireland, the dog got left behind. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad people because of that, but they prioritised their values. They prioritised what they needed at that particular time.
So it's about priorities.
So what happened to you down there was, right, you were socialising. Your socialising value, whatever your crack value, whatever it was, right, that was high there in that moment. So you weren't Dean, the youth worker that works in the bleeding local centre or whatever, right? You were Dean, the crack man, you know what I mean? So your value changed, you know, it prioritised. So what happens to me, right, I'm in the car and I'm going down the F50. I'm trying to get off the Ballymun exit, right, and I have to go across 4 lanes. And by the time I've reached the 4 lane, I've probably called 5 people bastards or whatever it is, right? But I don't really think that those people are bastards, right? I'm just prioritising at that particular moment, you know? I'm getting angry, I'm getting frustrated and that kind of stuff. So that's what happens is that as we go through different scenarios and different situations, we prioritise our values into empathy, listening, tolerance, all those kind of stuff. The mad ones come in as well, you know? And I think what your man was saying to you was about principles, that he expected that you had a principle, you know, that you would...
But it was also something about the role. His expectation was, I'm that role all the time. In his head, whatever role he most identifies me with.
I would say he valued you. I think that that's what it was.
100%.
I think he valued you, and he was surprised that you were sniggering at him, right?
It's like seeing the priest down the back of the bleeding nightclub doing a line of cocaine.
Yeah.
You kind of, your perception of who that person is gets shattered.
Absolutely. And the priest probably has good values in the church, was struggling at that time and ended up at the back of the nightclub.
Or he was just having the crack.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. His value changed. He prioritised his values. He's in the nightclub and he wants to dance and he wants to, you know, so I'll have a line of coke. But other people would say, but surely, you know, your principle would be not to be taking drugs, you know?
And I think there's a relationship between role, principle, values, and they're probably interchangeable, the words there. In my head, when I was there, the role I was in wasn't the role that he seen me in. It was different, and it was like a clash there.
His expectation was that you were sound and you were going to be sound to him, right?
And I was going to listen to him, and all I wanted was to get a pint of Guinness down my neck and have the fucking crack.
So your priority was different. That's all it was, you know what I mean? And that happens, that's the conflict. Do you ever meet people and they say, how's Mary? I haven't spoken to Mary in years. And you're like, why not? And they'll be like, when you listen to it, it'll be down to a principle or a value, you know, that they didn't agree with something that Mary did or Mary said or something like that. And instead of at the time talking out the way me and you talk stuff out, like, you know what I mean? Because we often come into conflict with each other, but we talk it out and we talk about it for fucking days. And sometimes we talk about it on podcasts, but we work it out or we come to a point of acceptance. There's things that you do that really fucking annoy me, right? But I accept them because it's not me.
One of them was, because I nearly done it last week when we were chatting to Kieran Moran, was crying.
Yeah. It's not the fact that you cry. That's not the thing. I thought you were putting it on for each podcast. It was like, this is the crying section now.
27 minutes in, Dean's going to cry.
Yeah, there was like, you got a reminder on your phone saying, right, get the tears on, you know. It's not, I've no problem with anybody crying, but I just thought, we were talking about the podcast, and we were talking about the future of the podcast, we were talking about the way the podcast was going and where we wanted to go, and it was good because we've never sat down and said, what is the podcast? Tony said to us the other day that he's very organised and ordered and all that kind of stuff, and we're not, and that's deadly, like, you know. It reached a point where there was a tension about something, right? You said it, and then I became argumentative and hurt and all those kind of things that happens. There was a part of me that was like saying, right, we've done 30 episodes, stick it up your arse, right? See you after and throw the rattler out of the pram. There was a bit of that.
I don't talk to her anymore. She's a cunt.
Yeah, I don't talk to her anymore. Her values don't suit my values. But that's not what happened. Was we kept at it and we kept talking. There was at one point I accept you, and I accept that I don't cry. You do cry. There is a part of me that wants to cry. That's what Sinead O'Connor said. The whole world wants to cry. So I get that could be a projection, of my wanting to cry or whatever. But the main thing is that we kept talking about it. We kept talking and we kept talking and we kept talking and we kept talking. You would have said that thing that you said to me there, where I'm coming in with something, I'm not really listening. And I get that. But there's also an excitement about, what's going on in the, in the room, and the energy in the room, and the energy between us and the energy between the guest.
There's a high there.
There's a high in it. Like, there's definitely something in it. So it's interesting, and I'm growing, I'm teachable. I'm learning to listen more.
You're open to it.
I'm opening the windows. So when people are saying stuff to me, I'm not going, fuck you. I'm going, hold on a second. Why is this person saying this to me?
There's a possibility that because I am not self-righteous, or because I'm turning down the hubris and turning up the humility, there's something to be learned or gleaned from this interaction with this person. My relationship with crying is interesting because I remember watching Oprah when I was like a young fella, and Oprah just started speaking, and I felt something, and I just bawled my lamps out.
So I do that as well. So when Susan Boyle come on Britain's Got Talent or whatever, right, I bawled my lamps out. And I can't watch those, not that I can't watch those programs, but I do watch those programs. But I cry at films and I cry at things like that, I went to a movie the other night, The Day My Face the Rising Sun. I mean, mate who was with me at the end of it was bawling, What I'm talking about is, so I don't even call that crying. I don't know what that is, right? There's a crying that is about a discharge.
Yeah, it's like a release.
A release,
I had one in South Africa. I hadn't seen my cousin in South Africa in a couple of years, and it was coming to the end of the time there. And we were just sitting around the second last night or the last night, and I just started to cry. There wasn't a lead into it or a build up in it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Tears just started to come out, and they were like, "Are you all right?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I'm actually all right." And my relationship with crying is the same relationship I have with laughing now.
Yeah.
For me, there's no difference.
Okay.
It's 100% the same thing. Just the way you laugh at something, or you get excited, or you get that high. Sometimes we see the crying as the low.
Yeah.
But I don't mind that, because I think there's something for me, there's some balance in leaning into both of them when they arrive. I don't stop myself from laughing.
Well, we do stop ourselves from laughing, because it's like what happened with you. Well, if you're in the funeral or something like that, and you're walking up and you're going to shake hands with somebody, and then you see something funny happening, you go, hold on here, this is not a time to laugh. Or when your man is saying to you, I'm after getting promoted and all that kind of stuff, there was a part of you that didn't want to laugh out loud.
No, maybe I shouldn't. And I'm learning that thing. You said the word to me years ago, tact. I'm learning that tact about when not to laugh. Probably I could learn when not to cry. But I'm in that interesting relationship with crying.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm wondering how many 50-year-old mates are having conversations like this,
I was talking earlier on with my sister. I went over to my sister. She is a great place for me to go to in moments where I feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And not just like depression or the sadness or anything like that, in high moments as well. And vice versa. It's kind of reciprocal. We'll share that. When she needs it, I'll be there. And it's a lovely relationship. We were talking about how men use the football conversations as the way to lubricate the possible deeper conversations further down the road. So to be banter about slagging football teams and so on. Now, actually, really what they want to say is, I'm feeling loads of feelings, and when I look out into the world, I'm filled with fear and disgust and horror and love. But what they do say is, Arsenal are a shy team. Your goalkeeper was brutal.
Do you not remember McSavage done it on the Savage Eye? The two of them standing out in the field, and one go, "It looks like it's going to rain." And then they're saying, "It rained yesterday."
Yeah. I had up in the garage where I live the other day, a man and woman who kind of, because I'm starting to get accepted up there So people are starting to open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I've seen them a little bit more. And this older man and older woman were looking at each other going, sure, think it's going to rain there now? And I got exactly that. But what they were, two of them were looking at each other going, I just want to wrap my arms around you, or I just want to go, the world is fucking mental.
Yeah, look, I see it all the time with men. And I see it with women too, because sometimes I see, you know, the way that women speak to each other as well can be contrived or whatever it is. You know, sometimes women, well, certainly historically in this country, women were more emotional and more able to talk about emotions and stuff like that.
There's a relationship between men and football and women and reality TV. It's kind of like that place where we go subcontract out our emotions rather than discussing them or feeling them.
Can I say something here? And I don't know whether this is sexist, so I'll just put in a little warning beforehand, right? But do you ever notice, like with women, they won't watch a horror movie. They go, no, I don't like horror movies, right? And they won't watch them, right? But they'll watch programs about Jeffrey Dahmer.
All the murderers, yeah.
Like, to me, a horror is a theatrical thing, right? It's a spoof.
But they'll watch the real life killers.
They'd be fucking fascinated with them, like, you know? It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, we should get someone on who knows about that world. It'd be an interesting conversation. So I can't do the football-y stuff.
Well, you don't like football.
No, I don't not like football. I just can't do that level of conversation.
Who do you support?
I don't fucking support anyway.
So you don't like football?
No, I don't not like it. That's like saying I don't like cycling or I don't like snooker.
You do like cycling?
No, watching cycling.
So I find that there's a fucking madness, right, is watching people cycling. I find that.
Watching people playing snooker, watching people kicking a bleeding ball in the net.
The snooker I get. See, there you go. It's like, it's got to do with you do you and me do me. So it's like, it's acceptance that some people will watch cycling and think it's amazing. I'm watching 40 blokes on bikes cycling. What the fuck? I remember saying to you one time, there should be a program, basically what Gogglebox, is it Gogglebox? Yeah, Gogglebox, right? Where you're watching people watching television, right? You're watching, on a television, people watching television, right? And I remember it was around the Big Brother time, I said it to you, it would be great to have a program where you watched people watching. I never watched Gogglebox, right? Never. The only time I did watch it was I turned around one day and there was a snippet of a program they were watching and I wanted to see that program.
You were disappointed that it was only a snippet.
Yeah. I was like,
look at that, Dave Amber. I want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
You got somebody on a sofa with their hand down that jocks.
Yeah, going, that was nice, wasn't it? It's not something I'd watch, but loads of my mates watch it. They love it. And they talk about it and all. And I was like, right, okay. I did love Baby Reindeer. I loved Ripley. I loved all, those kind of things. Like, there's loads of stuff that I do like. And I would watch snooker. If there was a snooker match on, I'd watch it. Because as a kid, I grew up with that. We watched The Crucible. It was a big thing. Alex Higgins and Ronnie Sullivan. There was all these deadly, people. And they were, in inverted commas, stars, like, you know what I mean? So I'm into that. But I never got into the cycling thing. Yeah, I knew the names, like, you know what I mean? And
I would watch whatever my dad was watching because I knew it gave me that space to be in the same room as him and look at him.
I don't remember. I remember being a kid and lying on top of my dad, sitting on my dad's lap and watching television, but I don't know whether I would be interested in it. I remember there was one time I watched Coronation Street. I used to come in and watch it every day. Like, I loved it when I was in my late teens, 20s, like, and I knew all the characters and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't tell you when the last time I watched the soap. No interest in it at all. But yet somebody said to me recently, Fair City is getting good. It's good or something like that. I was like, oh, deadly. I've no interest in that. That's...
So I just had an idea that watching those things, because my dad used to watch Coronation Street religiously, watching those things are a way of dealing with the world before you can do this, what we're doing. Before you can tease stuff out and talk it out and get in behind stuff. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that way, I reserve my judgment on people who watch reality TV or watch Gogglebox because it fucking helps. Those things help people. I'm recently off all social media and not watching the news. And I turned on the news the other day because I'm in sadness and I watched the news. Fucking hell, I was nearly suicidal.
Yeah.
With the level of stuff that's going on. So it's hard sometimes to look at the world in all its brashness and turning on Arsenal versus Liverpool Cup final.
Yeah.
Makes it a little bit fucking easier.
It helps, yeah. No, I get the football thing. I do get it. Like, I do understand, because I remember going to a match one time and walking up onto the terrace and the crowd and the pitch, and it was just like, wow, this is amazing. There was a film, Fever Pitch, years ago, and it was about the writer, Nick Horsby, wrote it. But there's a scene in it where the kid is walking up the Arsenal, he's walking up onto the terrace, and the pitch comes into view and the crowd roars and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. But I never got into it. My dad and my sister follow United. All my mates follow Liverpool. If I went to a match, I would be interested in it. I'd like to see it, but I'm not that interested in it. I'm more interested in music. I'd go to a gig quicker,
And I think you're more interested in people.
Yeah, but there's people playing football on the pitch.
Yeah, but you're not getting to know the person playing football on the pitch. One person on the pitch is the same as the next person on the pitch.
Yeah. Thanks for listening in. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, that was nice. I enjoyed that. Sparky, thank you very much for that. That was great. I got a lot from that. I can only wish that other people do as well. This shit helps me. Being able to talk, being listened to, being patient enough to listen to you, being brave enough to say my shit out open rather than holding on to it selfishly and it getting heavier and worse. And if we can do anything with this podcast, it's probably, for me, being courageous enough to say the stuff that's difficult, but have a bit of crack on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Crack Shack.
Yup, the Crack Shack. Fresh batch Crack Shack.
Here, fuck off, will you? Fresh, yeah?
Shut the fuck up!
Where lies poor little Jimmy Murphy on the sweet green mossy banks, Killimalink, Killimandowl, whiskey frisky doodle doo.
If you enjoy the Fresh Batch, give us some feedback and share it with your friends. Sound as a pound.